get the fuck out of my house, cocking your arm back with you within a foot or foot and a half, that's what these people have done. That's what these people have done. They're roommates. I even asked her, so you're roommates? She said, yeah. They're sharing common space. They share a kitchen. They share a bathroom. Good morning. Gentlemen, your appearance is on the People versus James.
Stephen Campbell on behalf of the people.
And good morning, Judge Oakley. Good morning to your staff. Neighborhood County Service, Carrie Martin, P84592. My client, Mr. Scott James, standing to my left. Scott, say your name, Judge Oakley.
Scott James.
Thank you. Have a seat, sir. We ready?
Yes, Your Honor, we intend to present two witnesses.
Who's your first one?
It was Lisa Yass, listed as the complainant.
Thank you.
Bring in Ms. Yance. I would ask for a more visual sequestration.
Your Honor, I have my officer in charge who might testify, but under Rule 615, he's entitled to meet her. However, that's the other witnesses that he's.
Thank you.
And my wife's, sorry, my client's spouse, Miss Sheila James, is stepping out of the courtroom right now.
Thank you. Is Miss Yance here?
Yes, she is, but they already bring her in. Oh, yeah. You sequestered.
They're trying to get her.
Joe, we're live YouTubing.
Oh, I look good for YouTube.
Miss Yance?
Calling Lisa Yass.
Thank you. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Watch your step on this ramp right here and take that chair. Did you say yes to the
Yes.
oath? Thank you. Have a seat. When you're ready, Mr. Kaplan.
Hey, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Yass.
And
Ms. Yass, are you employed?
on and off,
What type of work do you do or have you done?
house beans.
Ms. Yass, you know the person named Scott James?
Yes.
You saw Scott James again, you think you'd recognize him? Let
Is that a yes, ma'am?
Yes.
Let Judge Oakley know when you see this.
Yes, I see it.
What's he wearing? Reflect the witnesses identified as Scott James.
Striped tie?
Huh?
Striped tie?
Yeah.
Noted.
Yes.
Thank you. How do you know Scott James?
Brother, ex-brother.
Taking you back in time to December 10, 2025. Where were you living?
December 10,
December 10, 2025.
41835 Tyler Road.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you.
41835 Tyler Road.
TYLER,
Yes.
as of the President John Tyler. We'll see you at the property.
Oh,
Did you
oh,
lease or
and
who did you pay rent?
who?
Yeah.
James. Only had
This the defendant?
Sheila James, his wife. On and on, only had it.
Did anything unusual happen to you on December 10, 2025 at the Tyler Street home?
Yes.
What happened that was unusual?
I thought it was actually January 10th. No, it was young, I'm sorry. Well, I called Sheila because he left me a note. And
I don't want to delve into all of that. I just want to know if anything unusual happened to you.
yes, he raised his fist to me and the dog died.
Where did he raise his fist? What room or where was it?
My room.
How far were you from Mr. James when he raised his fist to you?
I was sitting down on the couch and he was like right at the edge of.
I'm gonna walk towards you and not to invade your space, just to try to gain the distance. Tell me to stop.
Right.
So Judge, may the record reflect the distance of maybe 1/2 to 1 foot.
That was very rushed. I would like
Sure.
to ensure that Ms. Yance is identifying the right distance in her testimony between.
Okay,
That's why we have cross-examination.
so approach the bench.
Don't
Was-
invade her space.
Was Mr. Yance that close to you or closer?
James,
Mr. James, I'm sorry.
he was a little bit closer
All right, so,
in the middle of the grade.
okay, so
So 2 feet, Judge.
within a foot and a half?
Yeah, I mean, long,
Okay,
enough for the dog to just jump over me.
All right, stand if you would, look at the judge and make the gesture that Mr. James made toward you.
Like, get the F out of my house, you effing bitch, and went like this. And he didn't strike his arm, but he was saying that stuff, and then the dog jumped over me.
and he pulled
I
his
was
hand,
still sitting
did he
down.
pull his fist back? Noted for the record.
What thinking or feeling he raised his fist to you? Definitely. Correct me as to what?
That as to he's violent, I've seen a good side of Scott.
Didn't ask you that. I asked you how you were feeling when the fist was leveraged toward you.
A little bit threatened, yes.
All right, moving on to a second topic, and that is the home itself. Where was Scott James living on the date of December 10, 2025?
Well, in the midsection of the house, they have a room upstairs, they say,
How many addresses are in this home? One or more?
I mean, there's only one address.
No, address.
There's only one address.
That's what I asked you, one on type.
Yeah.
What's the relationship on December 10th? Where is Scott James staying and where are you staying?
Obviously the same areas. I mean, he's living there, again, as far as I know, and I stay in my area.
In essence, you were roommates. In essence, you were roommates sharing the house?
How many keys are there? How many locks are there, different locks with keys?
Each door. No, I
I
don't
understand, but do you and Mr. James have separate keys or do you have the same? Key?
separate. Except for there's the one door that goes to the front room, there's no key for that door. It's just screwed shut.
All right, so part of the house you didn't have access to.
Right. I mean, I have access to it because, I'm renting it or whatever, but again, I know I don't have that much access to it because I don't have, we're caught up on rent. So,
Are you permitted to enter other parts of the home?
yeah,
Limited as to which parts of the home you may enter.
she's never told me I can't go anywhere else.
So my question is, do you use other parts of the home?
Yeah, sometimes
For what purposes?
she uses the bathroom, shower.
And specifically, what room, and maybe you said this and I missed it, so old age or in what room did this occur?
My living.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Yance. Questions for you? Oh. You agree that Scott James never paid you on December 10th, 2025?
Right.
You have suffered no injuries that day.
No,
Your testimony was that you were sitting down when Scott approached you.
yes.
You were already interacting with Sheila before this happened, right?
I saw her down space, and she was like breaking the face.
Okay, so safe to say there was some sort of verbal argument going on between you and Sheila?
Objection, not relevant as to the alleged assault. It's a third party. No consequence to your honor making findings.
What's the relevance?
I'm asking about the direct circumstances going on when she said this was happening. I'm just trying to build context.
I'll allow it.
So there was a verbal argument going on between you and Sheila when Mr. James made this gesture that you saw.
Yes, and then Sheila called them in,
I'm sorry, Sheila.
called them in.
And so you stated that this dog jumped over you.
Yes.
So
Behind me, he was threatened, he felt threatened, he could feel the tension,
all right, I'd ask you not to speculate on what the dog can feel, but what kind of chair were you sitting in? A couch.
Now sitting at the edge of the,
Okay. Do you know if the dog did it have to claw up on the back of the couch?
Well, we go back to the couch.
So the dog completely jumped from the ground and completely scaled the couch and landed on Mr. James.
Sitting behind me on the couch. They're literally sitting right behind me, just watching me.
I see. So the dog from sitting on the couch gets up from the couch and then,
Well, no, he didn't get up, he lunged, like,
Okay.
so he was trying to strike me, so the dog threatened, the dog, obviously, threatened.
and your testimony was a raised fist with no forward movement, right?
Right.
So talking about the house a little bit more. So just to be clear, there are separate front doors for your part of the house and for Sheila and Scott's part of the house.
Yes, I believe they just took the entrance apart to where they could open that door. Cause they added locked off.
But the answer to my question is yes, separate front doors, separate keys.
Yeah.
Yes. And you paid rent for your part of the house to Sheila James, wife of Scott.
Not at that present moment, I was in the midst of setting the pay her, I had $50 for her, that was what the argument was over. And he's took over $150.
Okay, that's not my question. My question is about payment of rent. Let me, since there seems to be some problem with payment, let me ask this.
Well, you text the colloquy, it's an editorial here, he should ask questions and not make his own comments.
I'm ready with my questions.
Go ahead.
You were expected to pay rent to Sheila James for staying at the
I was
house.
giving them $50 each time I got paid. She
Okay,
said she was writing it down. I asked her to show it to me. She never showed it to me. I had the $50 the night that all happened. I had the $50 to give to her.
and the $50 that you were expected to pay to Miss James each time you got paid is for the privilege of you living at that house.
Yes.
You don't own the house.
No, I don't own this.
Sheila is essentially your landlord.
That's what you want to say. She don't want to move in. And,
For payment of rent.
at the very first time, she said I didn't have to pay. I helped to get the house together because it was trash.
But after you moved in, an expectation of payment of rent
Right.
was established, yes.
Yes.
Did you ever have a lease?
No.
No. And the understanding was that you were paying rent for your side of the house, like you didn't have a, let me say this. You never had a right to sleep in Scott and Sheila's bedroom.
No, why would I do that? I have my own space and we're not a couple or anything.
Right. And so you certainly have no intimate relationship with Scott James, with Sheila James.
No.
Neither of them are your blood relatives. And did you say that there was a door that was screwed shut in the house? What door would that be?
The main door that goes to the actual living room.
So is that to say that the door is screwed shut in order to block passage from your side of the house to their side of the house?
Yes.
And
It's mainly more for security reasons for the animals.
okay, understood. So you did mention that you were upset, you believed that Mr. James had stolen your groceries.
Yes.
And what led you to believe that?
Because of the
Let me move this back, it's another bad apple, it has nothing to do with this case. It's irrelevant anyway.
Irrelevant, or the relevance? Thank you.
Mr. James and Ms. James are in the process of evicting you, is that right, Ms. Yance? I'm safe to say you do not want to be evicted?
And if I fix it, get it caught up with rent, I just can't afford large amounts.
Nothing further.
No regret.
All right, so I'm still confused about the living situation. were there portions of the house that you all use commonly? Okay, all right, so the bathroom was a shared bathroom. The kitchen was a shared kitchen. All right, you had a bedroom that they stayed out of the bedroom. They had a bedroom, you stayed out of that bedroom. All right, any questions as a follow-up?
If I could, Your Honor. Did your section of the house have its own bathroom that was maybe not in working order?
No.
No bathroom?
I put a commode in there.
I see. Did your side of the house have its own kitchen or kitchenette? Kitchen. Did your side of the home?
I prepared one, I use my appliances, put them on the table. Because I don't want no interaction with them. With, arguing, fighting, I'm trying to say.
Okay, that, you answered.
Bless you. You can step down. Watch your step on the ramp.
You're the officer, everyone.
Swear affirm that the swear, I was gonna put you on a bond. Swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth today?
Yes, sir.
Have a seat.
Yeah, you're,
Please.
sir.
Yes.
Dr. Gunn, good to see you.
You, sir.
I just call your last name.
Bedendorf.
Sir, with respect to this case, are you able to tell the judge the formal or recorded addresses of both the complaining witness and the defendant?
Yeah, it's a single family home located in the multiple lots.
So they, is there
Yeah, I
one
understand
recorded
what you're-
addresses?
One address,
What's that address?
41835 Tyler Road
Do your reports show where Lisa lived and complaining?
at 41835 Tyler Road.
And what about the defendant?
The same, 41835 Tyler Road.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin?
Detective Bedendorf, you've obviously come across situations where a single address is split into separate units, right?
Come across where people rent rooms out of a house, yes.
Right.
But it's not listed as an address. It's listed as the main address.
Okay, just because there may not be unit numbers or separate addresses attached to an address in your training experience, that doesn't mean that people are automatically living together.
I don't answer that.
All right, nothing further, thank you.
Is there any type of insignia beyond the address like 41185, 41835A, and 41835B?
No, sir.
Thank you.
You can step down. Anything else from the people, Mr. Kaplan? Defense witnesses?
None.
I'm ready for argument.
Not the crime of the century, but two issues. First, your job already mentioned, but first question is, was there an assault? If there was not an assault, then the case falls. Judge, although the defendant did not strike the victim, he placed her in fear of suffering battery. As we know, an assault is either an attempted battery or an attempt to place a person in fear of suffering a battery. When he's right in her face, Judge, with the fists clenched, and they're having a conversation which is acrimonious, that's the type of conduct that would lead her reasonably to believe that she's going to be the victim of an assault. So if Your Honor does find there's an assault, the question is the proper charge domestic violence or an assault and battery? Statute says if they're members of the same household, it's domestic violence. In this case, you've heard that they both live at 41835 Tyler. There's only one address. She has the run of she can enter almost every other room in that house. It's like a household. It's an unusual living situation, but we think it's enough to qualify as a question of fact as to whether domestic violence occurred.
Judge, couple things. First, I'd like to rehash what the testimony about this purported assault was. I think it was a little embellished just then by Prosecutor Kaplan. Not that she said about a foot and a half away, while Mr. James was standing and while Ms. Yance was sitting. So that, if you also factor in the height difference, the space of the height, standing versus sitting, in addition to the distance away of their bodies, about a foot and a half. I think that undercuts that this was fear of an immediate battle. I mean, if I'm, obviously this is a larger space, Your Honor, but if I'm doing this to you, saying, Judge Oakley, I'm gonna punch you, my position, that's definitely not an immediate battery, because how could I get I can't immediately get over there and punch you in the face. At this point, I'm just taunting. And I since there was no follow through, Miss Yance testified that there was never any forward movement of that fist, even according to taking everything she said at face value. I don't know if you even have an assault there. And then the other issue, I don't think there's even a question in fact about whether this is a domestic relationship. You don't need separate addresses, you don't need unit numbers, you don't need insignia to establish that someone lives in one part of a house and someone lives in another part of the house. They even screwed shut a door to establish this is your space, this is your space.
That wasn't the testimony. The testimony was the door was shut to keep the animals from roaming. That was the testimony.
Well, we also have separate front entrances, we have separate keys. Yes, these people know each other. Yes, these people sometimes welcome each other into each other's spaces. But it might not be the Ritz, but she's self-sufficient in her side of the house, a little kitchenette, uses a commode. Nothing bars her from living that way. She's living independently.
Is there no case law that defines a household?
I would ask the prosecutor the same question.
I'm asking you both. Because that's the question. What makes a household? Shared space?
I think the most natural reading of household means either it's a family unit or people who have really voluntarily chosen as co-lessees in the same space to be roommates. And
Well, that's what these people have done. That's what these people have done. They're roommates. I even asked her, so you're roommates? She said, yeah. They're sharing common space. They share a kitchen. They share a bathroom. The fact that they've got two different entrances into all those spaces doesn't lessen the fact that there's common area. It's probably a fact issue. I think there's enough there. A, get the fuck out of my house, cocking your arm back with you within a foot or foot and a half. That
Act even after being blocked. The fear became so intense that she reportedly drove straight to a police station and ran inside like a nervous wreck. Prosecutors argued this wasn't one isolated moment. It was a dangerous pattern of behavior that made the victim feel unsafe in her own home. What started as a heated argument inside a shared home quickly turned into a terrifying courtroom case. A witness told the court that Scott James suddenly raised his fist, screamed, and stepped within inches of her face. "Get the phone out of my house." She said she felt threatened and believed violence was about to happen.
She said she felt threatened.
The defense
So I think a
argued
reasonable
no
person
punch
could
was
see
thrown
that as an
and no
imminent
physical
threat.
contact occurred.
And as far as this
But
is
the
a
judge
household or is
focused
it
on
not,
fear,
to meet the definition of the
intimidation,
statute,
and
that's
the
up to the
aggressive
trier of fact
gesture
to decide.
itself. In the
Binding
end,
over.
the court ruled that a
2 weeks out,
reasonable
AOA.
person